Hi, gang, it's Adam.
And Patrick.
Coming up on today's episode, it's our most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, Muppetational episode ever as we list our Fab Five Muppets. As always, we cover the latest Disney news and close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Oh, hello, Patrick Jacuzzi Kazuki.
Oh, hello, Adam Sweetums Hummel.
Diabetic. I'm so sweet. You can't handle this sweetness.
You're medically sweet, Adam.
That is my designation. How are you doing, Patrick?
So delightful. Thank you so much for asking. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very, very well. I'm getting very excited. Our trip to Walt Disney World is right around the corner.
Mere moments away. I think we have maybe 2 episodes more after this to record, and then we're in the parks.
I can't believe it. We reached the time pre-trip when I'm like, I should really switch to salads and try to lose a few pounds before I go. But that never happens.
Listen, I'm on a strict diet of lemon water and gusts of wind.
You're going to be so snatched.
I want to look like people are concerned about me.
Yeah, like maybe I'm assisting you as you walk around the park.
Yes, I want to look very frail when I'm there.
I can't wait to see what a waif you're going to be.
Going to be, how dare you?
Because typically, I mean, what is your prep for a trip? Haircut, obviously.
Yes, I have to book a haircut right now. Ted, if you're listening, I will be making a reservation very shortly. And that's kind of it. I'm actually getting a lot better these days about like packing the night before and not 2 weeks before.
Oh, good for you.
I know it's been a journey, but I've realized that I don't need as much as I usually bring to the parks. I don't need 3 outfits per day, maybe 2.5 outfits per day.
No more reveals in the parks for you?
No more gasps in the parks.
I'd love to show up to dinner and just be like, oh my God, Patrick, and you're wearing a complete sequined caftan.
That's right. And underneath, a gown.
Well, Tweedles, if any of y'all are heading down to Walt Disney World for the 50th, please reach out to us. Let us know because we would love to see you there. And stay tuned because we have a fun little giveaway we'll be doing in the parks.
That's right. We have some surprises coming your way. We're gonna start sprinkling your Instagram with some hints about some surprises during the 50th anniversary. Stay tuned.
I love Instagram sprinkles.
I'm sprinkling on Instagram right now, in fact.
Uh-oh, some people are really going to be into that.
And account has been shut down. Darn it.
That's right, you're banned.
It happens. It happens once a month. Absolutely. Well, Adam, we have a jam-packed episode. We simply must get into it.
Patrick, let's start talking about Gay Days in Anaheim this weekend.
Oh, my goodness. How is it happening this weekend already?
I know. Pushed back Gay Days, right? Wasn't it like it was going to happen during the pandemic, it's still going on. And then it was kind of like, we're not doing it. And then I think they had another date that maybe it was going to happen and then it didn't happen. You know how those things play out.
It's been a real gay journey, that's for sure.
It certainly has, but it's happening this weekend, September 17th through September 19th. It sounds like it's going to be a blast. Drag queens, notable drag queens, Jan, a.k.a. Jan Sport.
That's right. Queens everywhere.
Nina West,
our very own Nina West. We claim her, I think.
That's right. She belongs to us now. Jackie Cox will be there.
All your favorites will be there.
And someone named Cheetah Rivera, who I don't really know that much about.
Nope, just an up-and-coming actress named Cheetah Rivera.
Got to mention Audra McDonald as well. They're all going to be there.
They are. We are not, unfortunately, going to be there. They're saving us, I think, for next year.
That's exactly right. We are the featured performers at next year's Gay Days Anaheim. Haven't received the contracts yet, but I'm sure they're in the mail.
Yes, featured performers in room 308.
Oh, my.
It's all true. It's all true. Well, happy Gay Days, everybody. If you are there for it, please let us know how your trip was.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, Patrick, this week also starts Hispanic Heritage Month.
That's right. Starting on September 15th and going through October 15th. I don't know why it starts and ends in the middle of a month, but here we are.
I love it. Quite frankly, I love a month celebration that starts mid-month because it really stands out. It pops then, doesn't it?
There you go. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And like all of these months, we should be celebrating Hispanic heritage all the time, but we are specifically getting more educated during the months of September and October.
You know, I did a little research, Patrick.
You did?
And I found out that National Hispanic Heritage Month traditionally honors the cultures and contributions of both Hispanic and Latino Americans. And during the month and throughout the year, the National Park Service and the month's partners share history, heritage, and accomplishments of Hispanic and Latino Americans of past and present. And that was just off the top of my head.
Not reading that at all.
Absolutely not. But I did learn something, so that was important. So happy National Hispanic Heritage Month, everyone.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, let's move on, Adam, to last week's episode, shall we? We have some feedback. We had a lot of people reach out, in fact, about our review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Not doing so well at the box office.
You're a liar.
I'm a blatant liar. Yes, Marvel Studios' Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings debuted at number 1 with 132.3 million globally during its opening weekend, which was also Labor Day weekend.
Amazing. It also has a 92% right now on Rotten Tomatoes with a 98% audience score. So audiences and reviewers alike are loving this movie.
And, as if that was not enough, call Guinness because it also set the record for the highest Labor Day weekend opening by a considerable margin.
Call Guinness, have a Guinness as well.
That's right. That's how you celebrate. So, some of our Tweedles reached out after listening to our spoiler-free review. If you have not checked it out yet and you have seen the movie, feel free to go back and listen to our review. And a brand new podcast chimed in. It's called Mouse Ears and a Movie.
I love it. I wonder what movies they watch.
Dark German cinema. That's what they really focus on.
Indeed. Indeed.
But Mouse Ears in a Movie, welcome to the Disney podcast universe. You can find them on Instagram at Mouse Ears in a Movie, said, saw it last night and permanently obsessed. I'm ruined for life.
Ruined, wrecked, all of it. Same here. Moving on, we have Sarah, who writes to us from Instagram, Sarah3Fields. And Sarah says, I honestly, ... loved this movie. What a cliffhanger. It was so well done. The characters were all intriguing and had their own growth stories. The visuals were gorgeous. The special effects were on point. And the storyline wasn't just believable, but entrancing. Marvel is still going strong, baby. Fire emoji, clapping hands emoji.
I love when Sarah calls us baby.
I don't know that she was calling us baby, more just expressing baby. But take it however you want, Adam.
All right. And last but not least, Michael, who you can find on Instagram at _Mikey Likes It, said, you convinced me to go see it in the theaters, and I wasn't disappointed. Agree, less is more with Shang-Chi. Patrick, read those emojis for me.
Laughing, crying emoji and star eyes emoji.
We convinced him to go see it. Disney, I hope you're listening because we are a marketing machine on your behalf.
That's right. That's right. We tricked him to going into the theaters again, and he was not disappointed.
Honestly, I haven't heard one person have a really negative reaction to this film.
Well, that's because this movie is amazing, and if you don't like it, you are dead to me.
A podcast exclusive. You're dead to Patrick if you did not like Shang-Chi.
Opinions are welcome here unless they're incorrect.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your feedback. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of anticlimactic to be like, here's everyone also agreeing with us and everything's great.
Everyone loving this movie is so boring, you know?
Yeah, I should have made up someone who just trashed it, and then we could have had some real drama on the pod.
We would have banned them forever. We would have blocked them on Instagram right here, live on the podcast.
We're blocking fake Instagrammers.
That's what it's come down to, everybody. We're in year 4. We're scraping for things to do now.
And with that, we come to This Week in Disney History.
That's right. Speaking of scraping for things to do and talk about, here comes a little history lesson for you all. And I actually have a twofer for you. So starting off with not the most recent one, because that'll be the second one. You'll follow me on this journey. 84 years ago, on September 13th, 1937, director, animator, and producer Don Bluth was born in El Paso, Texas. Before leaving the Walt Disney Company, Bluth worked on many Disney movies, including Sleeping Beauty, Robin Hood, The Rescuers, and Pete's Dragon. Now, moving on, 42 years ago, on that very same day, on his birthday, September 13th, 1979, Don Bluth quit Disney to start his own studio, taking with him 11 other Disney animators. Now, this new rivalry with Bluth's new company, which produced films like The Land Before Time and An American Tail, was a major reason for Disney shaking things up a little and bringing in new talent, which eventually jump-started the Disney Renaissance, starting with The Little Mermaid in 1989.
He left in a huff.
He did. He flipped a table, left in a cloud of smoke, and was never seen again in the Disney studios.
I heard they were bringing out his cake covered in candles, and they were like, happy, and he was gone.
There was a Don Bluth-shaped hole in the wall.
What a loss for the company. Really a visionary animator. And some of those films, Patrick, like An American Tail, that really did shape my childhood and wrecked me as a kid. Ooh, that one really tugs at your heartstrings.
That one and All Dogs Go to Heaven, boy oh boy, I cannot watch that movie without crying.
But he went off, and he did it on his own, and he stole some animators from Disney.
He did indeed, but lucky for Disney, as I said, it sort of shook things up and they brought in new animators who had a fresh vision for Disney that sort of jump-started the way we see Disney movies now. The animation changed, and you can really tell the difference between a Don Bluth movie and a Disney movie now in the way they're animated.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what they say, when God closes a door, he brings in new animators through the window.
That is exactly the saying. Thank you so much, Adam. Moving on, 104 years ago, on September 17th, 1917, camera effects artist and Disney legend Bob Broughton was born in Berkeley, California. Broughton was originally hired in the mailroom at the Walt Disney Company and quickly moved into the camera department. He essentially worked on every Disney movie from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs through The Black Hole in 1979. Now, one of his most recognizable projects was bringing to life the unforgettable moment when Dick Van Dyke danced with the penguins in Mary Poppins.
How about that? One of those stories we hear over and over again, someone starting in the mailroom and then kind of working their way up through the company, through the creative side of the company. Patrick, do you regret what you've done with your life? Should we have started in the Disney mailroom?
Every single time I turn on this podcast, I regret all of the choices I've made in my life.
Imagine where we could be if we had just made the mailroom a priority in our lives.
Be a very different podcast. It'd be called Opening Letters with Adam and Patrick.
We're trademarking it. Everyone, don't steal that idea because it is a viable podcast idea.
That's right. It's just you and I opening other people's mail. It's very drama filled, and we get arrested after every episode.
Salacious and illegal, you bet.
That's right. It's a federal crime, our new podcast. So is this one, really. Oh, and with that, we close the vault doors on This Week in Disney History.
Thanks, as always, Patrick. Fantastic to learn new things from you each week. Old things, really. We're learning old things, aren't we?
We're newly learning old things.
Exactly that. And that means it's time to head on into the Disney news after this ad from Helix Sleep. There's no ad. There's no ad.
No, No, no one wants us.
Disneyland is decking its halls this holiday season with a new separate ticket limited capacity offering, Disney Merriest Nights. Guests will have the opportunity to join Mickey Mouse and his friends, including Santa Claus, on one of 5 select nights during November and December with the purchase of a ticket. Disney Merriest Nights will feature 6 themed parties throughout Disneyland Park. As the host of the party, Mickey Mouse will welcome guests to the party on Main Street, USA, with Victorian flair. I don't know what that means, but let's go with it. And Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, fun. And their friends will join in on the fun, traveling in a special coach with Christmas Carol sing-alongs, Muppet antics, and a few chickens. Over in New Orleans Square, Princess Tiana will share her beads and beignets with guests at her Bayou-inspired celebration. In Frontierland, Miguel from Disney and Pixar's Coco will be wishing everyone Feliz Navidad with a jolly dance-filled fiesta. Lilo and Stitch will host a tropical party in Adventureland. Elsa from Frozen will whip up wintertime wonder in Fantasyland. And Buzz Lightyear and a DJ, of course, will take the holidays to new heights in Tomorrowland. Patrick, which one of those parties is speaking to you?
Obviously the Tomorrowland DJ party.
Obviously that, yes.
You know how I like to drop it in Disney.
Guests will also experience enhanced entertainment such as themed photo backdrops and character sightings, unlimited Disney PhotoPass digital downloads from the night, and themed specialty food and beverage offerings. But that's not all. Disney Merriest Nights will feature after-hours access to select Disney park attractions and entertainment, including It's a Small World Holiday and Haunted Mansion Holiday, along with a special viewing of A Christmas Fantasy Parade. Here's the disclaimer, folks. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, Mickey's Toontown, and Critter Country will not be accessible during the party. Entertainment, experiences, attractions, and offerings may be modified, limited in availability or unavailable, and are subject to restrictions and change or cancellation without notice. Disney Merriest Nights will take place on Thursday, November 11th, Tuesday, November 16th, Tuesday, November 30th, Tuesday, December 7th, and Thursday, December 9th. Guests will be able to enter the park beginning at 5 o'clock p.m. The event will run from 8 o'clock p.m. to midnight. Now, here's the info you've all been waiting for. General admission tickets are $165 per person ages 3 and up, with the exception of Thursday, November 11th, which is $175 per person. And I'm sure we're going to hear about that from the vloggers. No theme park reservation is required and parking fees are not included in the ticket price, but parking can be purchased in person on the day of the event or online prior to arrival. Tickets will be available for purchase beginning Tuesday, September 14th, 2021, no earlier than 9 o'clock a.m. on Disneyland.com and the Disneyland app. For additional event highlights and details, please visit Disneyland.com/Merriest Nights. Patrick, how you feeling about this?
It sounds really fun, actually, and maybe I'm just getting numb to the ticket prices these days, but it actually didn't sound too terrible, knowing everything that you listed that you get with that ticket.
Yeah, I agree. I think this would be a really fun holiday event, especially if you take the fam and get some fun holiday-themed photos, maybe, and party with those characters in their respective lands.
Now, I will say, I actually wouldn't pay that price probably for the kids, though, depending on how old they are, if that makes sense. I feel like younger kids aren't going to really remember this, and that's a lot of money to bring a kid to a party. Like a family of 4, we're talking about $1,000.
Well, Disneyland's not really meant for kids anyway, right?
Exactly. Not anymore, apparently. Not with those prices.
And you just tell your 10-year-old, act like you're 3.
Walk on your knees for a minute. Animal Kingdom dropped some wild news stories this past week, starting off with the most adorable of the news stories. A new baby white rhino was born on September 8th. The calf is unnamed as of yet and is so new that not much information is known about the baby yet, born to Mother Jiao. As we've reported before, but it always bears repeating, white rhinos are an endangered species, and because of programs like the Species Survival Plan at Disney, their numbers are, in fact, growing. The new calf and mother will soon join the rest of the crash on the safari, including the now almost 1-year-old rhino Ranger, who was born in October 2020. Up next, we learned this past week that Expedition Everest will be closed starting on January 4th, 2022 through April 2022. This will be the longest the attraction has been closed since it opened in 2006. But before we get our hopes up, Disney has stated that the closure will not result in enhancements to the ride itself. The work instead will be on the ride control system, so no fixed Yeti, at least that's what they're saying. And lastly, due to the unexpected closure of the ride, the Kali River Rapids attraction will be closed later this year for its annual refurbishment instead of early next year during its usual closure time. Disney smartly decided not to shut down any other attractions in Animal Kingdom while Expedition Everest is down, resulting in 0 people being excited that Kali River Rapids will be open in early 2022.
Are you even going to try to ride Kali River Rapids when we're there in 2 weeks?
I've given up. I've given up on it. I don't know. I think I'm cursed with that ride.
I saw an awful lot of people on social media speculating that the downtime for Expedition Everest would result in the Yeti being fixed, but come on. Y'all, they need a ton more time than just a couple of months to get that Yeti up and running.
Yeah, I think they actually have to shut down Animal Kingdom to make that work. They have to literally move mountains to fix the Yeti.
Patrick, look what you've done there.
Thank you so much. I'm very clever sometimes.
And while we're there, Patrick, maybe, just maybe, we should steal the baby rhino.
I think that's a good idea. I think it's a really good idea. I'm a little concerned about going on Expedition Everest while we're there because they need to fix the ride control system, and it sounds like it's out of control right now.
If anything, that makes me even more excited. Like, let's just throw caution to the wind. Let's put that baby rhino on the controls at Expedition Everest and just see what happens.
I like it. I like this idea. Do you think they're going to clean up all the hair bands that are at the top of the mountain?
So many dance team members are going to be so upset if they actually go through with that.
And one Patrick.
2 Hollywood hotshots and Disney alums are joining the 999 Happy Haunts of Disney's upcoming live-action cinematic reboot of Haunted Mansion. Or should I say 1001 Happy Haunts, because as we've previously reported, Lakeith Stanfield and Tiffany Haddish have signed on to the project. According to a September 8th The Hollywood Reporter article, Owen Wilson has joined the cast. Patrick, you must be so excited about that.
In more than one place.
Upstairs and downstairs. Patrick is very excited. Wilson most recently played Mobius, a middle manager who works with Tom Hiddleston's Lord of Mischief in Marvel's Disney Plus series Loki. The comedic actor will also be seen in this fall's The French Dispatch, the latest film from frequent collaborator Wes Anderson, and recently wrapped shooting the romantic comedy Marry Me opposite Jennifer Lopez. Can't wait to see that. And a September 9th Deadline exclusive reports that Rosario Dawson, who played Jedi Ahsoka Tano in Disney Plus's The Mandalorian, has also joined the cast of Haunted Mansion. As a reminder, Justin Simien is directing a script from Katie Dippold. Haunted Mansion begins shooting in Atlanta in October. And speaking of the Haunted Mansion, Disney Plus has set the premiere date for Muppets Haunted Mansion. Muppet Mansion mayhem will ensue on Friday, October 8th. The special will feature beloved Muppets characters and celebrity cameos as Gonzo is challenged to spend one night in the Haunted Mansion. The Muppets Haunted Mansion premiere date was announced as part of Disney Plus's second annual Hallow Stream offerings. Additional new content, or Boo releases, as they refer to them, include the premiere of Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales on Friday, October 1st, and the series premiere and all episodes of the original series Just Beyond on Wednesday, October 13th. For more information and the complete Disney Plus HelloStream lineup, visit disneyplus.com.
Spooky.
Super spooky news. Why even go out into the world during October? You have all of these programs to watch on Disney Plus.
Very exciting, very exciting. This announcement about the newly joined cast members for the Haunted Mansion makes me even more intrigued about this film.
Who do you think Owen Wilson's going to play?
Probably the opera singer?
That's absolutely correct. In a real stretch for him, the opera singer.
Yeah, I want to have a real stretch with him as well. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
That was a real stretch of a comment. Grogu is back, and he's a lot bigger than he used to be. Funko and Macy's, in collaboration with Lucasfilm, announced that Grogu, our favorite mysterious, adorable, and tiny Force-sensitive being from The Mandalorian, will debut as a massive Funko Pop-inspired balloon at the 2021 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on November 25th. An original design by Funko art director Reese O'Brien, created just for the parade, the balloon brings Grogu to life in the cute pop style of the collectibles. The Grogu-inspired balloon will also make history for the galaxy far, far away as the very first Star Wars-themed balloon ever, that's amazing to me, at the iconic Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, now in its 95th year. The balloon is set to measure 41 feet high, 29 feet long, and 37 feet wide. Hey, those are my measurements. As it travels through Manhattan, a memorable tribute to a modern Star Wars fan favorite. In addition, Star Wars fans are in luck. Funko has collaborated with Lucasfilm to develop a line of bobbleheads, deluxe bobbleheads, keychains, and apparel based on the Grogu-inspired balloon, alongside a limited edition series of balloon-themed pop products available exclusively at Funko.com. Macy's will also feature select items from Funko available for purchase at Macy's Herald Square in New York City this fall. Keep an eye out for Grogu when the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade airs nationwide on NBC, Thursday, November 25th from 9 a.m. to noon in all time zones. This is the way, Patrick, to ring in the holiday season.
Indeed, it is. How adorable is that parade going to be?
So adorable. A giant Grogu balloon floating right down Broadway.
I hope no one Funko Pops that balloon. See what I did there? Do you see what I did?
I see exactly what you did there. I applaud you, Patrick.
Thank you. I don't hear any applause, but I know that you're doing it with your mind.
Much like a person who is force-sensitive would.
Is that a real phrase, force-sensitive, or did you make that up?
I'm force-sensitive, okay?
It makes me feel icky. I don't like it.
Patrick, it's time.
To get things started?
It's time to light the lights.
I like this. I like this journey for us. I like this intro. Keep going, please.
I shall continue by informing our listeners that we are going to be celebrating the Muppets in this very episode beginning right now.
It's about time. It's about Muppet time, everybody. And what a great year. What a milestone year for the Muppets.
It is a milestone year for the Muppets.
In fact, 45 years ago, The Muppet Show was released in 1976. What a milestone.
A milestone for the Muppets, a milestone for our country. That was the bicentennial.
Indeed it was. And specifically with a Disney Henson Studio collaboration, Muppet Vision 3D celebrates 30 years. It opened in 1991. Also, 30 years ago, the TV show Dinosaurs premiered.
So many anniversaries for the Muppets and for Jim Henson's ties to Disney.
So many. In fact, I'm not even done yet, Adam, because 25 years ago, 1996, Muppet Treasure Island was released into theaters, and 10 years ago, Jim Henson became a Disney legend.
Geez, Muppets, stop. We get it. You're beloved. You're celebrated. We get it.
And actually, speaking of being celebrated, also 10 years ago, Muppet or a Man won the Academy Award for Best Original Song.
It's almost as if the Muppets have had a real influence on our culture.
It's almost as if that. And in fact, let's just keep that influence going, Adam, with a Fab Five Muppet Characters episode.
For those of you that have never experienced one of our Fab Five episodes before, let me educate you just for a minute. Our Fab Five is based on Disney's Fab Five. That's Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Pluto, and Goofy. And what Patrick and I do during these segments is we count down our favorites in a list from 5 to number 1.
That's right. Fab Five. Indeed, this week's topic is Muppet characters. I love this idea. I've been wanting to talk about the Muppets for so long, and it's the perfect time to do so.
Would you say the Muppets had an impact on your childhood, Patrick?
I would absolutely say that. I have always been a fan of the Muppets. I love them. They were a huge part of my childhood. And if you expand the Muppet universe into Sesame Street, of course, Sesame Street had a huge impact on me as well. But the Muppets, very specifically, I've always had a very large place in my heart for.
Same for me, Patrick. I remember when the Muppet Show was in syndication. I think it would come on after the news, like around 6:30 in the evening. So it was like little gay Adam had finished dinner and he would run to the TV and watch the Muppet Show before prime time programming began.
Such a great show, such a great cultural moment in our history, the Muppet Show.
And we've talked about the Muppet movies, the various Muppet movies on this podcast before. Particularly, I know both you and I have a real connection to The Muppets Take Manhattan.
It's one of my very favorite movies of all time. It always will be. It's such an iconic moment in my history watching that movie, and I've seen it so many times I can almost recite it word for word. It's such a good movie.
Yeah, that VHS tape was worn out in the Hummel household.
Indeed. I'm sad, actually, that it was not part of the transfer of Muppet Archives into Disney when they purchased the Muppets in 2004.
Why is that? Do we know?
Sony owns the Muppets Take Manhattan movie, also Muppets from Space and Kermit's Swamp Years, so they still own the rights to those films.
Let's make a deal, Sony. I mean, we're working together to create Spider-Man movies. Can we not work together to get those precious, precious films and specials onto Disney+?
It's time. It's time to let go of those movies, give them to Disney. You're not doing anything with them anyways. Come on. What are we even doing?
If we accomplish nothing else with this podcast, I hope that we can somehow bargain with Sony to make that happen.
I see it for us. Wouldn't that be delightful if tomorrow we woke up and suddenly The Muppets Take Manhattan was part of Disney+.
Best day of my life. Absolutely. All right, Patrick, we're counting down our Fab Five Muppets today, and we should say to our listeners that we're specifically focusing on the Muppets as they're connected to Disney, right?
That's right, the Disney-owned Muppets. So we will not be talking about, for instance, the Fraggles in Fraggle Rock, and we will not be talking about Sesame Street characters because they are also not owned by Disney.
We won't be talking about Henson's special projects like the Dark Crystal or Labyrinth.
Unfortunately, because those are also excellent, excellent movies. But there are so many Disney-owned Muppets to talk about that this was hard to do. This was a hard list to curate, I will say.
So true, Patrick, because each Muppet has a special place in your heart and represents a different ideal or a different personality. They're each their own little characters, but some of them had to go, so I was brutally cutting them one by one.
It's true. They are very identifiable, unique characters. But it was also hard for me because I always think of the Muppets as a collective. Do you know what I mean? Like they all work so well together that it's really hard to pull one out and be a standout character, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, they are an adorable little team causing mayhem everywhere they go. But alas, it had to be done. So Patrick, kick us off with your number 5 Fab Five Muppet.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for that honor. And I'm going to start out by cheating a little bit because I am, in fact, talking about two characters who really cannot be separated. They are intrinsically connected or magnetically connected if you want to get scientific. I'm talking about Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker.
Isn't it funny that as soon as you said two characters that are connected, I immediately jumped to Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker?
You did. I would have thought that a lot of people would have thought I was talking about Waldorf and Statler because they are also very connected. But no, indeed. I'm talking about Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker, though they are an inseparable pair. Adam, actually, Dr. Bunsen Honeydew was created first for the first season of The Muppet Show, voiced then and currently by David Gales. And a year later, Beaker was introduced as his lab assistant, and Beaker was originally performed by Richard Hunt, who passed away in 1992. He was then performed by Steve Whitmire, who was fired in 2016, which is a very interesting story, maybe for another day, and Beaker is currently performed by David Rudman.
Who knew Beaker had such a lineage to him when it came to performers?
Quite a journey for someone who barely speaks.
Exactly, yeah.
It's pretty funny. So the two of them together are for me, a perfect comedy duo, sort of in the way of Laurel and Hardy, or more currently, maybe Pinky and the Brain, or Leonard and Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, or interestingly, Adam, they are to me, the scientific version of the magicians Penn and Teller, who also started their career in 1975. So it's very possible that they were, at least in a small way, inspired by Penn and Teller.
Very interesting. Yeah, they definitely have that kind of Laurel and Hardy-esque straight man / funny man aesthetic to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Even just looking at the two of them together physically, you sort of understand immediately what's going to happen with them, right? We have Dr. Bunsen Honeydew, who was named after, of course, the chemist Robert Bunsen, after whom the Bunsen burner was named, and his last name Honeydew is because of the shape of his head, which looks like a honeydew melon. And interestingly, also slightly named after the company Honeywell, which at the time, their slogan was that someday is today at Honeywell. And the Muppets Lab slogan is where the future is being made today. So there's an interesting connection between the two. And Dr. Bunsen is sort of the short and stout guy with glasses and no eyes behind them, which is very telling. And he's supposedly the brains behind the operation, coming up with experiments and inventing things that have absolutely no practical use, like edible paper clips or exploding hats or a banana sharpener. And then we have Beaker, who is the exact physical opposite of Dr. Bunsen, and he's tall and sort of narrow with explosive red hair. He basically looks like the top portion of an actual beaker with chemicals exploding out of it. And he's sort of, as you said, the punching bag, right? For all of these experiments, consistently getting blown up or eaten or beaten up somehow. And then for me, what's super funny about these two is that it's not ever really clear if they're friends or not, or just forced to be together for the sake of entertainment. But they're always to me very hilarious and a great combination.
Maybe they're lovers.
Who can say? Who can even say?
So brave of Dr. Bunsen Honeydew to be named after everyone's least favorite melon.
It's true. It's the garbage melon of the fruit salad.
I love these two together, and I always feel a bit for Beaker because as funny as he is, man, does he get put through some stuff.
He does indeed. That's one of my favorite parts of the Muppets 3D show is watching the two of them together. It's absolutely hilarious every single time. And who doesn't love them in Muppets Christmas Carol?
So fantastic in Muppets Christmas Carol. Yeah, I love these two. These are an excellent number 5 choice for you.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry for cheating a little bit, but I feel like you really can't take one without the other with these characters.
There's no way you can separate these two. Absolutely. That takes us to my number 5 choice for Fab Five Muppets. And my number 5 choice is a Muppet who goes all the way back to The Muppet Show in 1976, but has only relatively recently been recognized and developed a real true kind of personality. I'm talking about Uncle Deadly.
Oh, interesting. Interesting choice.
Uncle Deadly, a.k.a. the Phantom of The Muppet Show, as he was known back in the day. His first appearance was actually alongside Vincent Price on a 1976 episode of The Muppet Show. And then Uncle Deadly kind of rose to stardom, shall we say, with his appearance in 2011's The Muppets as Tex Richmond's henchman. And he was a prominent character on the ABC series, The Muppets.
Yes, indeed. It seems that Disney did a service to Uncle Deadly, if that makes sense. They sort of captured what people are going to love about him.
And that's kind of where his personality blossomed, shall we say, when Disney got a hold of him, because in the series The Muppets, he worked in wardrobe for Up Late with Miss Piggy, the show. And then on Muppets Now, he appears as Miss Piggy's assistant. So pairing him with Piggy was such a great choice because he is so dry. And let's face it, to me, anyway, he reads as like a queer character. He's very kind of sassy and dry, but also very well dressed. And I just love that about him.
Yeah, it's a really good pairing, the two of them, because they're both so dramatic in different ways.
Perfect way to put that, Patrick. And I think he really shines in those Muppets Now segments with Miss Piggy. In fact, I find him even more funny than Miss Piggy is, where Miss Piggy's very kind of erratic and dramatic. Dudley is very kind of reserved and off the cuff, shall we say. So it makes an excellent pairing and makes him so funny.
Do we know, was he actually inspired by Vincent Price, or was that just sort of a coincidence?
I was watching a YouTube video about him this very morning, and it seems that he was more inspired by the radio performers from back in the day, Patrick. And there was one radio performer in particular who I can't recall his name right now, but it was those gentlemen who spoke very dramatically on the radio. You know, it was that kind of like melodramatic tone, which has been applied to Uncle Dudley, absolutely. But I could see that, you know, there is that connection. And the fact that he did appear with Vincent Price first does seem to indicate that there was some inspiration there.
That makes total sense. Total sense. Yeah, there's a very Alfred Hitchcock sort of cadence to his speech.
Dark, deep, mysterious voice provided by Matt Vogel, who also happens to voice Kermit the Frog and Big Bird, two hard-hitting Muppets.
Hard-hitting indeed. Hard-hitting indeed. And he crosses boundaries with that, too. He performs for two Muppets who are owned by two different entities.
That's right. In fact, Uncle Dudley has become so celebrated now that he actually has his own Twitter, which several of the Muppets have their own Twitter, but not one as dark. He's kind of like a darker Muppet. I don't know quite how to describe it. He's still pleasant, I guess pleasant enough, but he does have an edge to him. And you can find him on Twitter at Uncle by Dudley.
Yeah, I would say dark. I would say that he is sort of the more macabre of the Muppets.
He's a goth Muppet.
He is. I hope that he plays a part, at least a small part, if not a huge part, in the Muppet Haunted Mansion special.
If he's not in that, I mean, what a missed opportunity.
What a missed opportunity. I mean, I have to imagine he's going to be in it, maybe even narrating it, because he did sort of kick off the promotion of that special a couple months ago that we talked about here on the podcast.
Certain that he'll be in that. Absolutely. So that's my number 5 choice. I just love him. I hope we get to see more of him. Uncle Dudley.
Great choice. Great choice. Well, that moves us into our number 4 slots with the Muppets. Adam, I am now going to talk about Fozzie Bear, America's favorite teddy bear.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of the guy. So Fozzie Bear made his debut on The Muppet Show, as with most of the characters we're talking about today, and was created and performed by Frank Oz until 2001, when Eric Jacobson took over the role. Now, interestingly, Fozzie is the namesake of Franz Foz Fazakis, who was a Muppeteer and engineer who worked on the mechanics that made Fozzie's ear wiggle. How cute is that?
So cute. A little tribute.
I love it. I love it so much. Now, Fozzie, to me, is inarguably the most lovable Muppet, I think. He wants so desperately to be loved and appreciated as a comedian, and he is so incredibly earnest that you can't help but fall in love with him. He's got dad jokes for days, which ironically kind of makes him a really good comedian these days, because that's sort of on trend right now, whereas before, his dad jokes were sort of shunned by the Muppets.
Yeah, there's that kind of sweet naivete when it comes to his humor that makes him so charming.
He's very on trend right now. He's sort of this vaudevillian performer at heart, and he loves his chosen family, which I love, with the Muppets, specifically with Kermit. He's so loyal and true to Kermit, which is adorable to watch, who he's often paired with as well. He's a very dependable character. You know what you're in for when you see Fozzie come on stage, and I think it was so smart to make him a cute teddy bear, because now he's free to sort of accidentally, as he often does, ruin the day, but you can't be mad at him because he's literally a big teddy bear.
Much like Bunsen and Beaker, their pairing is really intrinsic to the Muppets story. And it's so interesting that, Kermit used to be a little bit more biting or a little bit more edgy than he is now. Like now he tends to be a little bit more sweeter. So I think, back in the day when the Muppet Show first premiered, Kermit was very on edge a lot of the time as he was kind of overseeing the theater, and Fozzie was kind of a good foil to him in that Fozzie was always in a very kind of upbeat mood and always cracking jokes and trying to make light of things.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. They're a good, like you said, they're a good pairing. They're again, sort of a Laurel and Hardy pairing, the two of them.
This is an excellent choice. Obviously, everyone loves Fozzie. I would say Fozzie and Rolf are very hard for me to call out, like who I want to hug more when it comes to Muppets and who I'm more kind of charmed by. Rolf tends to be a little bit more gravelly. He's got that gravelly voice, and Fozzie is just so charming and upbeat. But both of them are just really very sweet Muppets.
Yeah, I do like both of them. I think Fozzie sort of tips the scales for me because I don't really know who Rolf is as a character, if that makes sense. He's with the Muppets. He's definitely intrinsically in the Muppet gang, but I don't really know his personality or what he does on his own. He sort of is a Muppet that needs the other Muppets to help him be a character, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Fozzie is more dimensional than Rolf is.
That's what I would say.
Well, great choice for your number 4, Patrick. Moving on to my number 4, very well-known Muppet. She's a star, Patrick. She's an absolute star. I am talking, of course, about Miss Piggy.
Ooh, number 4. Interesting. Go on, please.
She has quite the history, and quite the history before the Muppets even started, though she may not have been known as Miss Piggy at the time. Her first known appearance was on the Herb Alpert television special, Herb Alpert and the TJB, broadcast on October 13th, 1974. And then, of course, she did appear on The Muppet Show when it premiered in 1976, reportedly inspired by jazz singer Peggy Lee. In The Muppet Show, episode 106, Piggy is referred to by the full name Piggy Lee.
I love that. I love that inspiration. It makes total sense to me.
She was originally voiced by Frank Oz and is now voiced by Eric Jacobson. In a 1979 interview with the New York Times, performer Frank Oz outlined Piggy's biography, stating, quote, "She grew up in a small town, most likely Keystone, Iowa." Very specific. Her father died when she was young and her mother wasn't that nice to her. She had to enter beauty contests to survive, as many single women do. She has a lot of vulnerability, which she has to hide because of her need to be a superstar, end quote. And he's also referred to her, and this is a perfect way to describe Piggy, as a truck driver wanting to be a woman.
Yeah, that is just hitting the nail on the head with Miss Piggy, I think.
And the reason she's on my list, obviously, Patrick, is that she is a star. She is recognized quite often as the most famous Muppet. In fact, a lot of times she kind of eclipses Kermit's star power. And specifically in the 1980s, she was so popular. And I just happened to be growing up in the 1980s. So I connected with her in that regard. Patrick, did you know that she's an author?
I did, in fact, know that.
She wrote Miss Piggy's Guide to Life. And that, unlike any of Kermit's books, wound up on the top of the New York Times bestseller list. In 1996, TV Guide ranked her as number 23 on its 50 greatest TV stars of all times list. That's just amazing to me. And why do I love Piggy? Well, I'll tell you, it's her use of French, her rage, her karate chop, and her love of Kermit and fashion. She is really fleshed out, and I probably shouldn't have used that word because Piggy would be offended by any association of a fleshy mention to her form. Patrick, she's performed alongside super talents like Dolly Parton, the Jonas Brothers, Robbie Williams, and I did not know this, but she's even had her own luxury brand featured on QVC called Moi by Miss Piggy.
She's a Renaissance woman, that pig.
She can do it all, and she is completely obsessed with herself, and rightly so. She is quite the talent and quite the funny, cutting Muppet.
She is indeed. She's biting, that woman.
I specifically love instances where it's clear the performer has been given permission to improvise. And I think a lot of that tended to happen prior to Disney owning the Muppets, because now it seems like they want to play her a little bit more safe. But it's just so special to see her kind of go off on someone and give them an absolute read.
In fact, she was on the Reading Challenge episode of the first episode of the newest RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars.
I was hoping that she would appear on the panel as a judge, but alas, she only appeared via video.
She did, but she was very funny. It was great to watch. If you haven't seen it, please do so.
So that is my number 4 choice for Fab Five Muppets, Miss Piggy.
I love it. What an excellent choice. What an icon for the Muppets. In fact, Adam, Miss Piggy also made my list in the number 3 spot for Fab Five Muppets.
What a transition.
What a great transition. And yeah, everything you said holds true. Miss Piggy, through and through, right? A self-described diva. And in fact, many drag performers cite her as their inspiration for their drag looks. And here's what I like more about Miss Piggy now than before is that before she was sort of obsessed with Kermit, right? And she was sort of boy crazy for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then when Disney got her, she's now more of an independent woman. And though she may be looking for love, she's not obsessed with it anymore. She's simply obsessed with her career, which I kind of love more. I think it's a more interesting take on Miss Piggy.
Kermit and Piggy, what a roller coaster romance. I mean, they are up and down, they're in, they're out. Who knows how that's going to play out?
It's true. It's absolutely true. Though she is at times delusional, right? As you said, she's a very strong character who knows what she wants and she's laser focused on it. She's an entrepreneur, she's an entertainer, and she's an influencer, right? And I think, as you said, other than Kermit, she's probably one of the most popular Muppets of all time. In fact, there was a time in the 80s when Frank Oz was performing both Miss Piggy and Fozzie Bear, and Fozzie sort of had to take a back seat to Miss Piggy, and you didn't see him a lot because he needed to play Miss Piggy so often. She was so demanded and sought after that he spent most of his time performing Miss Piggy.
Yeah, I was trying to think, why the 80s? Why was the 80s Piggy's time to shine? And it's really when she kind of came into her own. And it's probably because it was such a time of maximalism. And Piggy's really all about everything, right?
100%. Yeah, she's the ultimate material girl, if you will.
I just remember her being on everything in the 80s. It was like all about her fashion and the colors she wore and her giant kind of permed curly hair.
Love that. And let's be clear, she's still very sought after. She's been on Saturday Night Live, The Tonight Show, The X Factor. Project Runway did a challenge to design an outfit for her. And as we said, she was most recently on RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars. It's pretty incredible. A lot of people call her a queer icon, which I don't know if I would say that, but I would absolutely call her, at least as of late, a feminist icon and definitely an LGBTQ plus advocate.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned this earlier, an influencer. Like, now is the time when Piggy can really shine. Like, when you think about Instagram, you think about all these influencers on Instagram, you know, they're basically just pulling a Piggy.
We're putting that on a t-shirt. Pull a Piggy.
She's fabulous. I love Piggy.
Well, let's keep the number 3 spot rolling, Adam, with your number 3 Fab Five Muppet.
My number 3 Fab Five Muppet is someone I've already referenced in this episode at the very top of this episode. I'm talking about the Muppet with the most pronounced uvula of all the Muppets, Janice.
I like it. Great choice.
Janice is the lead guitar player in the Electric Mayhem. She is laid back and noted for her kind of Valley Girl-isms. And what I really love about Janice and what makes her so absolutely hilarious to me is the fact that she's always the last Muppet to speak during group arguments or discussions.
That is one of my favorite comedic moments when people do that. It always makes me laugh. It's the funniest thing in the world.
Very If you think back to classic movie moments where, Mother, it's my life, okay? So if I want to live on a beach and walk around naked, ... I don't take my clothes off for anyone, even if it is artistic.
She's fabulous. She's so funny.
And I think the reason I'm so drawn to Janice is because I kind of want to be Janice, like maybe not specifically that Muppet, but I really admire how laid back she is and how she's kind of very zen all the time, whereas I tend to be a little bit more tightly wound. And so I admire that kind of lifestyle where you can just be in the moment.
It's true. She always is just sort of happy where she is, Janice.
And those lips, there's no filler in those lips, folks. Those are au naturel.
She's real.
She's a real Muppet. Janice was originally performed by Fran Brill, and then Aaron Oscar, I believe that's how you pronounce it, performed Janice in the first season of The Muppet Show, and Richard Hunt took over for the character in season 2 and gave Janice her true Janice personality and Valley Girl voice and attitude, and David Rudman currently performs Janice.
Interesting. I did not know that.
And while we don't know a ton about her backstory, and she may not be like the most dimensional Muppet, there may not be a complete backstory for her, I think that's okay because she fulfills such a specific purpose, and that is to be very outspoken and be absolutely who she is and celebrated for her kind of hippie lifestyle.
It's true. She's sort of the equal and opposite of Miss Piggy in that respect.
That's a perfect way to put it, Patrick. Yeah, they really do balance each other out very well. In fact, I'm trying to think of like when they've been paired together, when it's just been the two of them, and I can't really pinpoint any moments, although there have been moments certainly in The Muppet Show when they've both been in like medical sketches and things like that. But it would be great to see them together in some kind of recurring segments on like Muppets Now.
I like this idea. I like them doing a talk show together, perhaps. Who can say?
It'd be very Galinda and Elphaba, you know?
Very that. Yeah, I do love Janice. She was definitely an also-ran for me, but what it came down to was, do I want to necessarily like buy a plush of Janice? No, but I do want to like wear a t-shirt with Janice on it, right? She's sort of a nod to the Muppets as opposed to a pull-out character for me.
Interesting. So fashion for you, but not a plush.
That's what I would say. That's how I'll put it.
Well, that's my number 3 choice, Janice. My impression of her is absolute trash. But Patrick, that takes us to your number 2 Muppet. Who made your number 2?
Well, I think it's no surprise that Gonzo made my number 2 of the Muppets. I love Gonzo. He is absolutely an amazing character. Originated and voiced by David Gels, Gonzo made his first appearance, interestingly, in 1970 on a TV special called The Great Santa Claus Switch, but he wasn't really the Gonzo we know him now, right? He was just sort of a Muppet that was filling space on the screen. Really, he was then known as a Snarl or a Frackle. He was later rethemed and reintroduced on The Muppet Show as Gonzo, and has since been one of the more widely used and loved of the Muppets. Now, as I mentioned before, a lot of people consider Miss Piggy to sort of be the LGBTQ representative for the Muppets, but I would argue that Gonzo is our queer icon. First, starting with, he's always been referred to, right, as a whatever or a weirdo, and we can definitely pull some queer identification there. And as far as I'm concerned, we aren't even sure what gender Gonzo identifies as, though I'll admit, myself included, we want to refer to Gonzo as a he or a him. But for any fans of the new Muppet Baby series, there's actually an episode where the Muppets parody Cinderella, and it turns out that Gonzo was Cinderella, or Gonzarella, as they refer to him. And there is a wonderful quote when asked why Gonzo didn't say anything. They say, "Because you all expected me to look a certain way, I don't want you to be upset with me, but I want to be me." I mean, come on, queer icon.
Absolute queer icon. I completely agree with you that he is more of an icon when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community than Piggy is, because as you said, he has been defined as whatever and a thing. You know, there's no way to pinpoint exactly what he is, and that's perfectly okay. He is who he is, and he's very comfortable being who he is. And Patrick, he also is my number 2 Fab Five Muppet.
Well, I love that we met here on number 2, Adam. We can tag team Gonzo. Nope, that's not what I want to say, but we can take on Gonzo together. Nope, don't want to say that way either. Forget it. But we also know, right, that Gonzo has had this ongoing relationship with Camilla the chicken, which is amazing, giving them a, quote, interspecies relationship. And here's what I love about Gonzo, moving on from the queer iconness of it all, and then I'll let you take over. Gonzo was sort of first, right, to sign up for a crazy stunt, no matter how dangerous. In fact, you could classify Gonzo as a performance artist. And one of my very favorite moments from the Muppet Show, and I'm going to quote Gonzo specifically, "I will eat a rubber tire to the music of the flight of the bumblebee." Such a funny funny moment. I laugh every time I see it. And he's sort of just accepted by the Muppet gang, right? As you said, Gonzo is who he is or is who they are.
That's right. He is willing to completely destroy his digestive tract for his art.
As am I, really.
Yeah, he's weird. He is so funny, and he's also so sweet. You know, when you think about Kermit and Fozzie's relationship, the kind of opposite side of that is Gonzo and Kermit's relationship. They also have a very special connection.
They do. And Gonzo's often paired with other characters like Rizzo or Pepe or Camilla, and it's always great. He just pairs well, or they pair well with anyone, really, because Gonzo is he just wants to be part of the family. He wants to be accepted by everybody, and he is, really.
And in addition to what you said, Patrick, I feel like Gonzo maybe has been the Muppet that has developed the most since we were first introduced to them. It seems like he was so erratic on the Muppet Show, but also less definable. And now he's more definable in the sense that he knows who, or they know who they are. Like, I just feel like he's kind of grown into himself more than any other Muppet.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And I think they struck gold when the Muppets started to use Gonzo as a narrator ever since the Muppets Christmas Carol. I think it's a perfect choice. And let's be clear, Baby Gonzo is the cutest of the Baby Muppets, in my opinion.
Oh, it's such a tough call. But yeah, Baby Gonzo is so cute.
So adorable. Love Gonzo.
Well, there we have it, our crossover, Gonzo at number 2. That takes us to our number 1 Fab Five Muppet.
Do we have the same number 1 Muppet, Adam? You're shaking your head, so maybe not.
I don't know. I was giving you more of like a, do we? I don't know.
Interesting. Well, should we say it at the same time and see what happens?
All right. Give me your Fab Five, number 1 Muppet in 3, 2, 1... Pepe
Kermit.
the King Prawn.
Oh,
no.
Not the same at all. I went with Kermit the Frog. As number 1.
That is an excellent choice, obviously. Patrick, talk to us about Kermit.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that we don't have the same number 1, but I'm fascinated to find out why your number 1 is your number 1. But I'm going first, Adam, because that's how we've decided to do this episode. So Kermit, I mean, really one of the OG Muppets, right? Appearing on Sam and Friends all the way back in 1955, voiced by Jim Henson from 1955 to 1990, and then by Steve Whitmire from 1990 to 2016, and then he got booted, and currently voiced, as you mentioned before, by Matt Vogel. Now, Kermit very quickly became the face of the Muppets, right? And really the Jim Henson Studios at large. He absolutely gives Mickey Mouse a run for his money in terms of cred and icon recognition. In fact, there is every comparison, I think, to be made between Kermit and Mickey when it comes to an entire brand, right, being boiled down into the face of one character. I think that they are intrinsically of each other, if that makes sense. There's also something about Kermit you just can't help but love, right? He's everyone's best friend. He's able to be written into scenes as either the straight man or the narrator or the comedian or the pratfall guy. He is as lovable as he is wacky, and I think that makes for just a wonderful dimensional character. And I really have to say that, in my opinion, has a lot to do with Kermit really being a part of Jim Henson, if that makes sense. If he was created or performed, I think, in the wrong hands, we don't have Kermit. We don't have what we have today as Kermit the Frog. And I think specifically those moments in Sesame Street Shorts, right, where Kermit is talking to kids and really improvising with them and treating them like people and responding to them like people, you can see how in love the kids are with Kermit. And I think that's what really pushes him into the number 1 spot for me. There's something so oddly relatable about him. And even as an adult, I treat him as something that is real, right? And something that exists out in the world. I was about 10 years old when Jim Henson passed away, and to this day it really affects me because he was Kermit the Frog, and Kermit was Jim Henson, and it's very clear that it was important to the Henson team that his legacy lived on in specifically Kermit the Frog. I fully believe that Jim Henson and Kermit should have received a special award for their performance in The Muppets Take Manhattan. I think it is a perfect performance, and it really boils down all of the dimensions of Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, they are one and the same, Jim Henson and Kermit, and I absolutely echo the sentiment of feeling that loss when Jim Henson passed away. Patrick, Jim Henson passed away on my 11th birthday.
Oh,
and
no.
I was playing out in the yard. I remember the moment my mom opened up one of the windows and screamed out at me, Jim Henson just died, and I was such a fan of his. Yeah, I was such a fan of his. In fact, I had written to him a couple months earlier when he was in production on The Witches, just commenting on how much I loved him, and he sent back a signed photo. It was so special.
Wow.
And this morning, Patrick, when I was preparing for this episode, I was watching an old episode of The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and Jim Henson was on. This was prior to The Muppet Show being on the air, and he brought out Kermit, and it was one of those rare instances where they showed both Jim Henson and Kermit, and he was performing Kermit. So special to watch. So if you have a chance, go on YouTube and find that clip, because you don't often see Jim Henson actually manipulating Kermit. It's either Jim Henson talking or Kermit talking.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Although interesting, the Muppets, I think sometimes, or at least the Muppet team, right, doesn't sort of hide the fact that they are being performed by performers, right? In the way that Disney usually wants to separate the two, and Mickey Mouse is Mickey Mouse. I think the Muppets are a little more lenient about that in like celebrating the performers that make these characters.
Yeah, it does feel like since Disney has taken over the Muppets that you do see less of the performers, and that makes sense, right? Because as you said, Disney likes to separate the fact that there's someone inside that costume of Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kermit the Frog, man, my number one. I think he just had to be, because he has just such a special place in my heart that it would have felt wrong to put anyone else in that position for me.
Well, I hate him, and so he didn't make my number one. No, just kidding. Kermit is the obvious choice for number one. He's the most fabulous choice for number one. He is the Muppets, right? He is that kind of brand and the face of that wonderful group of misfits.
And yet did not make your list at all, Adam, interestingly.
That's right, because I chose Pepe the King Prong, okay?
Oh, dear. Are we in for a 5-minute impression?
No. There's no way I could perform him as well as Bill Beretta performs him. His full name is Pepino Rodrigo Serrano Gonzalez. And I was watching an interview with Bill Beretta, and Bill actually had a hand in, so to speak, a hand in creating Pepe. And that was one thing that really spoke to me, was the fact that a lot of these people who perform the Muppets were also a part of their creation and a part of their personality. So anyway, Bill has a wife named Cristina who was born in Spain, and Pepe is based on his wife's aunts who are Spanish. And so his voice and his mannerisms and the fact that he says okay a lot after everything and the fact that he speaks in very broken English is based on his wife's relatives. So going back to Pepe's background, Pepe worked as a chef in Spain before moving to Hollywood and following his true calling in show business. Pepe is a relatively recent creation and addition to the Muppets. His first appearance was on Muppets Tonight in 1996 as part of a duo act. His first appearance was with another Muppet named Seymour the Elephant. They were kind of being paired together. I believe they were elevator operators in that first season, but then they kind of were separated, and it just became all about Pepe, who was a standout from that show. In 2002, he became the official spokesprawn for Long John Silver's. Do you remember those commercials, Patrick?
I do indeed.
So funny. When Bill Beretta performs Pepe, he often is given license to improvise, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to the Muppet, aside from the fact that he's just so darn cute with his little snaggle tooth and his little feathers on the top of his head and his beady eyes. But going back to the fact that Bill Beretta does improvise with Pepe, Pepe is often used as a host on Muppets DVD's extras. On Muppets Now, Pepe hosts a series of segments called Pepe's Unbelievable Game Show. And again, it kind of goes back to improvisation because he does kind of trade quips with the actors they use during those game show sequences and with Scooter, who's his assistant in those sequences.
Yeah, a real funny character. You can draw some parallels between Pepe and, if anyone remembers, Triumph the Insult comic dog.
Yep.
There's a lot of parallels there.
Very that. And he's kind of taken the place, not kind of, he has taken the place of Rizzo in the Gonzo and Rizzo pairing right now, because often you see Gonzo paired with Pepe.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he definitely, as you said, is a newer character, and he definitely broke out as sort of a fan favorite when people discovered Pepe.
I just love him so much. He is absolutely outspoken. I think he tends to get away with a little bit more than the other Muppets do. He's often commenting on how beautiful women are or making inappropriate comments to them. Maybe not so PC these days, but for some reason they allow him to do it. And in addition to all of that, what makes me so charmed by him and what I find so hilarious are his mispronunciations of things. For instance, he calls the Muppets muffins or muppins. He calls Kermit Kermin, and he calls Scooter Scooper.
Yeah, he's adorable. He's adorable.
Absolutely adorable. So cute. So funny. And that's why he's my number one choice, Pepe the King Prawn.
Pepe has always been, I've always loved the character, but I've always been on the fence about Pepe, if I may. And I don't mean to rain on your number one parade at all, Adam, but I have to wonder, and maybe this isn't a question for me to answer at all, but maybe some of our listeners to answer, is it offensive that he is being played by a non-Hispanic or Latinx actor? Does that question make any sense?
It totally does. And I thought about that when I was making my list too. And I think what kind of excuses it, and this is coming from me who is a white man, so please reach out to us if this doesn't make any sense to you. But I think what excuses it is that, one, it's coming from a place of love, right? It's not done from like an offensive standpoint. But the other part is that it's not a human character. It's a fictional prawn. And therefore, I think the character might be given a little bit more leeway when it comes to who the performer is.
Got it. And as you mentioned, the sign off from his wife, right? And the character is sort of a love letter to his in-laws.
But in today's climate, I could see that absolutely being an issue with some people. So let us know, Tweedles. Reach out to us and let us know if you find the character offensive or if it just doesn't appeal to you because of the fact that the performer is not of Spanish descent.
I think that's the part for me, because I like the character, and I don't think it's, in my opinion, and right, I am only entitled to an opinion, is that the character itself maybe isn't offensive. It's just that it's not played by somebody who is Hispanic or Latinx, in the way that, I don't know if a lot of people remember, Kristen Bell was voicing a character on a cartoon who was not white, and she sort of stepped down from the role and said, you know what, this doesn't feel right to me. I shouldn't be portraying somebody who isn't of my heritage, which makes absolute sense. I think there's a debate there, right? And it's an interesting topic to explore. Not one that we necessarily need to get into deeply here on Gaze Do the D, but just something to bring up, I think.
Totally. I totally get it. I think, again, it just comes down to him not being human. But that accent is being used, and, you know, the mispronunciations do occur. So people could feel a variety of different ways and would absolutely be right in how they feel regarding the performance of Pepe.
Yeah, absolutely. A controversial number one you've brought up, Adam, but an adorable number one.
Well, that's what I like creating on this podcast, Patrick, is controversy, you know?
Well done. Well done to you. That's what we're all about here on Gaze Do the D, is making people feel offended.
We like to make you feel uneasy.
It's been my whole life with you, Adam. Uneasy.
Well, I'm proud of us, Patrick. I think we made some very excellent choices when it comes to our Fab Five Muppets.
I agree with you. Were there any also-rans on your list of Muppets who didn't quite make the list? I mean, there's so many to choose from.
So many. Fozzie, obviously, Kermit. You called me Sweetums at the beginning of this episode, and Sweetums was on my list of potential Muppets to include, particularly because Sweetums is such a standout in that Sweetums is literally standing. There's a person inside performing Sweetums.
Yeah. A huge character, and one of the very few walk-around Muppets in Hollywood studios.
Who almost made your list, Patrick?
Well, I think I'm actually quite happy with the list that I have, in that, as I said before, there's so many Muppets, but a lot of them are just sort of part of the Muppet team right? And not characters that I could see sort of have a TV show on their own. That being said, The Swedish Chef, I think, is a really great character, and so much has been done with him and can be done with him. Waldorf and Statler, I think, are really, really great characters. I'm interested to see what the Muppets do with them in this sort of climate that we have now of two old white men yelling at people. I don't know if it's cute or not anymore, but there's an interesting twist that Disney could do with them.
If anything, regarding Waldorf and Statler, it's certainly accurate, right, for the time we live in. So maybe there's something to be said with them being kind of featured and being a little bit more wink-wink to the audience, like we know what's going on here.
It's true. It's true. And everyone sort of loves to hate them, which is, apropos for those characters. Also,
we're kind of turning into them as we continue to age and become more decrepit.
Hunched over, absolutely, complaining about everything. That's who we are. Really, or who we're becoming, at least.
It's like looking in a mirror of our future selves, Patrick.
It is. It really is. Well, Tweedles at home, now's your favorite time when you get to talk back at us. Let us know what you think of our Fab Five lists, and let us know what your Fab Five Muppets are.
We know so many of our listeners are hardcore Muppet heads. Is that what we're going to call them?
Sure, why not?
So please reach out to us. You can do so via social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast.
Or leave us a voice memo or an email at info@gaysdothed.com. I don't know about you, Adam, but I had so much fun doing this episode. You and I were sort of chatting back and forth prior to recording and prior to sort of making our list, in that there's so much Muppet content out there that we simply must do another Muppet episode, because there's so many great moments in Muppet history, right? And specifically ones that Disney has produced for us.
Totally agree, Patrick. And there's such a history with the Muppets that we barely even touched in this episode.
It's true. So listeners, give us your thoughts on more episodes about the Muppets that we should do. What Muppet moments should we touch in the future?
Do you think we'd ever get a Muppet to come on the podcast?
I would love that. Who should we go after?
My dream Muppet guest would be Beaker.
Yeah, absolutely. Fascinating choice. I think that Beaker would have a lot to say on our podcast.
Quality podcasting content with Beaker.
It would certainly be more intelligent than anything we have to say. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Patrick.
I'll tell you what, my dogs have legs, and I'm upset about it because you may or may not be able to hear it on the podcast, but they will not stop running around the house, and I may have legless dogs at the end of the day.
Longtime listeners will know that Patrick's studio is in his basement, and so if you are a focused listener, occasionally in episodes, you may hear his dog's nails tap dancing on the ceiling above him.
That's right. My wooden floors are ruined, and also my patience is ruined. So if you want to donate to carpet Patrick's floor, head on over to Gates to the D.
Just some beautiful area rugs he could put down.
Yeah. Click on that donate button, and we'll have a cleaner episode. What do you say?
The dogs are so sweet. It's worth it.
No. Hush your mouth, Adam. I want carpet, so I think and I also want the dogs. I will keep the dogs, but we'll also maybe add some carpet, or maybe some of those beautiful soundproofing panels that you can put in your home.
There you go. Just cover the basement in those. And that way, if you do end up losing your mind at any point, you also have a padded room. You won't be able to harm yourself.
Perfect. I do need a panic room as well.
Yes.
Oh, dear. We're off track. That's okay, because it's quick D time. Adam, no one cares what we're saying anymore. They've stopped listening.
No. I know there's at least 2 to 3 Tweedles who hold on to the very end.
Because they don't know where the pause button is, or the stop button.
It's actually an Instagram challenge right now. It's Dare yourself to listen to a full episode.
Oof, no one send me that. Do not at me in that challenge. But here we are, Adam. It is Quick D time. And we talked about quite a few Muppets, Adam, who may be some queer icons in the community. So I thought, why don't we keep the queer discussion going, because we are an LGBTQ plus podcast after all, and implement Imagine Queering into today's episode.
Imagine Queering. I love it. Patrick, tell the Tweedles what that even means.
It means we're very gay, Adam, and and we like to imagine things. So we're going to put those two together and retheme a Disney attraction to be just a little bit gayer.
That's right. It's up to us to gay up a Disney attraction.
Because they're not gay enough already. For those who don't know, all of the attractions are printed out and put into a Chewbacca mug. So I am reaching into his head and pulling out an attraction. Ooh, this is very appropriate for today's episode, Adam. We are Imagine Queering the Haunted Mansion.
Oh my God. How do we even?
It's pretty gay. There's a ballroom scene, Adam.
There's a ballroom. There is decorative wallpaper.
I think here, just off the top of my head, we're going to rename it The Haunted Man Sean.
Wait. The Haunted Man Sean?
Yeah. So it's all about a man named Sean.
And what is he haunted by? The fact that he can't come out of the closet?
That's right. He is haunted and oppressed by his family. And so he's murdered them all, right?
Oh.
And that's the Haunted Man Sean's Haunted Mansion.
You know, when you're traveling down the hallway and you pass all those doors and everybody's like, help, let me out. It's just a bunch of straight identifying dudes who are actually queer, just wanting to be part of the community.
I like this. He's flipped the script and he instead is putting his family into gay camp.
Perfect. Oh my gosh, gay camp. Why isn't that a thing?
Right? It's straight conversion from straight to gay. I like this.
This is wonderful, wonderful. I'm real excited to get to the graveyard because that has been turned into a full-on disco, I imagine.
Indeed it has. I love this. I'm obsessed with this idea.
Perhaps an overlay for gay days?
Talk about a stretching room, you know what I mean?
No.
What? I can't say that.
That will do it for this episode of Gays Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gaysdothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gays Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast, and submit your questions or show ideas to info@gaysdothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See you real soon.